We're back again with Grazel Garcia from GGPA, and today we're going to be talking about New Year's mental health. So, Grazel, what are some ways that people can kind of improve their their health in the new year?
Reflection time, right? I think it's really important to sit down and if you meditate, take time to reflect over the course of the year that passed or several years before the upcoming new year and see what really didn't work for you. Um, and knowing what didn't work and to start with that, to start listing that would really help in facilitating a new health year per se.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting straight away. That in order to look forward, you're saying you first have to look back and say what wasn't I happy with over the last year. So, what sort of what sort of things might people be looking for there in terms of what they'd like to change?
Yeah, if we're looking at, mental well-being, I think psychologically it's always good to look at what troubles or struggles, difficulties you've had in the past year and how those difficulties set you back emotionally and mentally, intellectually, and how it affected you physically as well.
So let's say someone's been in a situation where they have had things impacting them and affecting them. How could they change things moving forward? Like what sort of things might they need to change in the new year to maybe to support their mental health in general to start with?
I think, for example, I think the biggest thing that people usually, focus on in the new year is looking at their overall kind of physical stature. And they're focused on keeping their bodies healthy and their minds healthy. I think it's really important to see if you're focusing on physical well-being, that your psychological well-being is so important as your physical well-being. Anything that you don't process mentally and emotionally is going to affect your body.
Mhm.
You're going to hold more inflammation in your body and probably even as, if you have a good diet, but you have really high inflammation, then things may be wonky a little bit. So I think it's really good maybe first get in a habit of getting an annual physical exam, get in with your your general practice doctors, see what's going on with your overall physical health, rule out any medical issues that may be there, attend to that. Dental hygiene is so important. It also causes a lot of inflammation if we don't have good dental hygiene. Um, and then making sure that you're sticking with your therapy if you already are. And if you're not, see if you can jump in and see what therapy can do for you.
Yeah, it's all about that mind body connection, isn't it? That standard Western medicine likes to separate the body out into all these different parts, and you can study these individual things in isolation. Like you'll have a heart, someone who's a specialist in heart stuff or stomach stuff or feet or whatever. But when you put it all together, that's when kind of true healing happens, and your mental health and how your brain is perceiving things and reacting. That's all definitely a part of that. Um,
Absolutely.
what is it about January that makes people feel that sort of pressure to improve?
I think it's the time of the year, everyone is just kind of, okay, this is the beginning of a year. I have a whole new year to change every single habit that I wasn't happy about. And the pressure that you're talking about, I think that just comes from a lot of expectations that are put on you that's not even your expectations of yourself. So I think it's really good to look at how am I leading my life in comparison to what I'm seeing in social media? That may not be helpful for me. You know, if the pressure that's coming from social media is actually not healthy and helpful for me, then maybe I should start with that and really look at what can I do that matches who I am and what I value and what feels true for me versus what social media tells me to do.
Yeah. I mean, something that Laura and I were kind of talking about the other day, it was about you shouldn't be comparing yourself to other people. You should compare yourself to how you were, however long ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, because it's not a fair comparison otherwise. Um,
This is very true. We can only compare ourselves to ourselves. I mean, that's the best thing we can do.
yeah, but obviously when we're talking about sort of resolutions in terms of mental health, that's very different to fitness or productivity or I want to make this much money this year or I want to be able to lift this level of weight this year. Um, so how can you sort of quantify those goals?
You're talking about like mental
Yeah.
health goals. I think quantifying, you know, goals for something that's not visible. For example, like how do you quantify knowing the personal growth you're attaining if you can't really see it? I think it's really important to be able to have maybe a person that can be an accountability buddy for you. Like, here are the things that I'm changing, and here are the things that I'm working on in therapy. If you're open to sharing that to someone that you trust, I think it would be really good, right? To have a person that you can trust and say, I'm working on the first quarter of the year, I'm working on lessening my level of anger. And I'm hoping that when you're around me, you can see if I'm still reactive and snappy about the things that I shouldn't be snappy about. If that person is able to give you feedback, I think that's a good measure of quantifying the data that 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 would be good for you because sometimes we can't see the changes we make in ourselves. And I always tell my clients this, that it's so important. It's a good measure of success when other people see the changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
So that's
that's
one.
sorry, go on.
I said that's one thing that they can do.
Yeah, and I think that's a really really important point actually because you can't see the progress in yourself on a day-to-day basis because it happens so incrementally. But for someone who sees you once a month, once every other week, they're going to be able to notice that a lot more. So it's yeah, that's a really good tip there. I like that. Um,
Hmm.
but you spoke about like lessening anger in certain situations. Let's say for someone who maybe they have anxiety, what would
Okay.
what would kind of healing look like for that type of person um, in terms of the next year?
I think that having a resolution of if the resolution is that important for them, having a good routine will and consistency will give you good data about how you're doing.
Mhm.
So, for example, if you were to use a scale from 0 to 5 and you've done your own self-assessment and you said, okay, in social settings, my anxiety goes up to the max, which is 5,
Mhm.
the highest level of anxiety. In the new year, I want to make sure that I lessen that. And the way that you would quantify it is that exposing yourself to social situations at the beginning of the year and maybe every quarter expose yourself to social events and see if you can apply the skills you're learning. Go to a social event, see if the anxiety level of 5 is lessening down to maybe, let's say your goal is, okay, I don't want to go to 0. I want to have healthy anxiety. Maybe I'd like to have a balance where I'm anxious and I can manage social situations. So maybe that would be a 3. And if you can taper it down to a certain number, then that's a good quantifiable data.
Yeah, that's yeah using a scale like that, using a scoring system. Yeah, that's a really good idea as well. What about for couples? Do you think couples should set shared goals in terms of mental health things?
That's a great question. I think, you know, it's always good to work with your partner as a team and collaboratively because you're a couple together has a relationship to tend to, right? You're tending to the relationship. So if you're able to share goals together, that's going to make you a successful couple. I'm all for it. It's really good. And I think doing that at the beginning of the year, where I know that a lot of people do vision boards already, at the beginning of the year, I think you can continue to do that. Do vision boards, look at your goals and dreams together, and then make it a smaller goal where you could probably attain it in 6 months, a year, 2 years, and 3 years.
Mm.
And then you can look back at that goal, and see if you attained it in 6 months together. And if not, look at it again and create semi skills and goals that you can do so that you can complete that goal moving forward.
Yeah, and having that sort of shared goal, obviously, it brings you closer together because then you're both moving in the same direction. Um, how in a relationship can you keep each other accountable in that sort of scenario?
I think having a focus on the relationship goal is going to help each partner keep each other accountable. So let's say, for example, a relational goal is that they're going to increase spirituality, right? What does that entail? What actions do we need to do to increase that? So each partner is probably going to engage in the same activity to see the progress that they're doing.
Yeah.
So, for example, it could be meditating together every morning, reading something that is going to create more spirituality for them, or being in community that focuses on spiritual work.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's a good New Year's discussion. So happy New Year, everyone. And yeah, we will see you in the next one.
Happy New Year.